Prepare for an experience unlike anything before.
Space Engineers 2, Early Access, and a new teaser. What a day. Or probably a couple of days ago by the time you see this, but shh. One of these things, Early Access, I wasn't expecting, but it is very welcome, I'm sure you'll agree. And before we go over everything revealed to us today, I wanted to quickly clear up some confusion. Space Engineers 2 isn't just going to be a graphical upgrade. The teasers we've received recently haven't shown off a lot of the new features. However, this new game and engine includes a bunch of new features, like the 25cm unified grid system and the new fracturing system that we'll be talking about later in this video, along with other features like volumetric water, dedicated modding tools, and so much more. I've done videos on everything that we know is coming to this new game in the past, so I've created a playlist with all the videos I've done regarding it. So, if you want to be fully up to date on what is potentially coming to Space Engineers 2, check out that playlist for all the details. Anyway, Space Engineers 2, Early Access, new teaser. Let's take a look. There's not many new things revealed to us on the first few shots in this teaser, so we'll quickly run through them, starting with two quick things in this first shot. The first is on the bottom left, there's his engineer, and he's doing something weird. He's got something in his hand and it shoots out like a ray, and then numbers appear on the ship, which I'm pretty sure aren't supposed to be there. But as you can see very briefly, he's painting the blue on the ship red. Now we'll cover this in more detail later in the teaser, but the way we paint ships in Space Engineers 2 has completely changed. On the right side of this clip, we can see the ship taking off here, and this is the first time we've actually got a good look at the drills in this new game. As in the previous teaser, whilst there were ships with drills on the front, it was all in pitch darkness. And unfortunately, as much as I would love to say this is a nice look, this is really far away and really pixelated. We can see that the drills are a completely different shape, being wider and flatter rather than stuck out more, but it's not that clear look at drills that I really wanted. You know, I said there was only two things in this shot I wanted to draw your attention to? Well, actually, there's a third. Cable. Again, there's not anything new in this next shot. However, the text in the bottom left has now fully appeared, and it says Concordia Research Facility, which is the name of the base that appears in this teaser, Modular Engineering Division, founded by Dante Appian. Frontier development of the 25cm grid system. Now, the 25cm grid system is one of the new things in this game. Small grid and large grid have been merged together. I'm sure you're sick of me saying this by now. And there's an even smaller level of 25cm. And the new lore is that in this new star system that this new game is set, they have developed the technology to merge the grids together and also to place these 25cm blocks as well. In the next shots, we get a very similar shot that we saw in the last video of the cockpit of the big red ship. You can see the new console block in the middle, and you can also see these red buttons. And you know where else there's a big red button? That's right, it's below the video. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Hello?
He's just standing there, menacingly!
We get another shot from the cockpit here. You can see two ships flying past. And also, cable. In all seriousness, I'm super invested in this cable now. I need to know what it does, if it does anything at all. At some point, I know we're going to get a trailer or something, and the engineer is going to pull out this cable and do something with it, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm going to post a live cable reaction, we'll throw a party in my Discord, it'll be great. When they do a live stream next week, that'll be my #1 question. Does this cable do something, or is it cosmetic? And if it is cosmetic, my goal for the entire lifespan of Space Engineers 2 will be to convince Keen, very politely, to make this cable do something. In the next shot, cable. In the next shot, up here, you can see a block with a green light on it, and there's also this display below it, and I'm pretty sure these two are the same block. We actually get a clearer look at it here on this image that's hidden away on the Space Engineers website as well. The reason I say these two blocks are the same is ages ago, we got this screenshot of V-Race 3, the engine that Space Engineers is being built on, and in this screenshot, you can see this on the right. Now, obviously, this looks different to the model in this new teaser. However, if you look at the other blocks in this V-Race 3 screenshot, you can very clearly tell that they're not finished yet. But even so, this block here has a striking resemblance to the block in this teaser. But that might be speculating too hard, and we all know what happens when you do that. Regardless of all of this, it definitely appears to be a reactor. And, like the gyroscope we saw in the previous teaser, it also appears to be a fully enclosed block. Now, this is an interesting change, as the gyroscope and the reactor were not fully enclosed blocks in Space Engineers, and as it's a fully enclosed block, it means it'll be much easier to place, so this is also a massive quality of life improvement as well. Whilst we're looking at this screenshot, cable, it's got that little wheel next to it, don't forget the wheel. Over here, we have the assembler and the refinery we saw in previous teasers, once again having these little icons up here that we're not sure are to do with upgrade modules or something else. And then above it, we've got this block. And this block is entirely new. It is probably one of three things. It's either a larger reactor, some sort of tank, like a hydrogen tank or an oxygen tank, or it's some sort of thruster. I think it's unlikely to be a thruster, it's just because it's got that cone shape. I'd probably lean more towards this being a reactor of some kind, but I don't know. What do you guys think it is? Over here we have what is definitely a medical bay though. You can see the bit in the middle that you stand in to customize your suit, and there's probably a healing panel on the left here. And above it, we once again have a look at the drills, but again, this screenshot is too low resolution to get a good look at them. Please, King, please, I need to see the drills. They look so pretty, but I want to see them in HD. Right, let's get into the meat of the video. The first thing they show off in detail is the 25cm grid system, which, as I said earlier, is simultaneously a merger of large grid and small grid, and also the ability to place 25cm blocks, which are smaller than small grid blocks. You can see a really good example of the integrated large grid and small grid here, where along the side you've got smaller blocks, and at the bottom you've got some larger catwalk blocks. Also, cable. The engineer then proceeds to start removing blocks from the wall, but before we even look at that, I want to look at this, the UI at the bottom. Space Engineers has two main problems. Two problems that are fundamentals to the game and that nearly everyone has experienced. Those problems are, the UI of the game sucks, and the game sucks at telling you how to play it. I'm sorry, but we all know this to be true. And just this small glimpse here appears to massively improve both. Now, it's worth mentioning that the UI is probably not final, especially as some of these icons look a little bit, well, two of them don't even have icons, so I suggest this is probably a work in progress. Also, I'm secretly hoping that there's going to be base game coloured icons. That would be great. We'll quickly go over everything from left to right. We have our health, battery, oxygen, hydrogen bars over here. Then we have our torch and our jetpack here. And over here we have our speed limit, which we can see goes from 0 meters per second to 310 meters per second. We did know that the speed limit was increasing to 300 meters per second, and we can assume, like in Space Engineers, the engineer can go 10 meters per second faster than the speed limit. Over here we have this bar, which has like 1 and then 8 lines underneath it, and I'm going to assume this indicates all the different hotbars you can have. Over here we have our hotbar, and obviously these are the items we have on it, and we can see the block we currently have equipped is the interior wall pillar flat 2.5 meters. This, I would imagine, is our PCU, although I'm not sure I necessarily want that on the screen all the time. And over here, we have one of the most important features, which is the controls. Space Engineers does have ways of showing you the controls, but this is just way better than anything it does. I saw this and my immediate thought is, oh, what game is this? This isn't Space Engineers. You never normally see all this in game. I know that pressing R lets you switch between large grid and small grid. Obviously there's no grid sizes in this game, but you know what I mean. But I don't remember it appearing anywhere on the UI. It just tells you to press the same button on your hotbar again. The toggling of symmetry is really hidden at the bottom of your UI in Space Engineers, and I'm pretty sure the option to play symmetry planes isn't shown to you anywhere in the game. These might sound like really minor simple changes, but changes like these will massively improve the experience of new players playing the game, as they'll be able to learn these things by actually playing the game. Whereas before you'd have to watch a guide or read the wiki, and that's just, not as good. Above, you can see that it says what block you're placing on, that's very useful. And on the right, you can see what size it's snapping to. So presumably you can change if you want to snap to 25 centimeters, 0.5 centimeters, which is what small grid was. And then presumably there's other ranges from there to what large grid was. If we move slightly forward, you can see that this bar at the bottom changes. Now I think because control is highlighted over here, that's because the player is holding control. And just before this, control was the option for precision. Now we have rotation controls. It's unknown if these are different to the numpad controls we currently have. There's the option to create blueprint, we'll come back to that. There's setup symmetry. So previously you'd have to press M when looking at a grid and then put down on your planes, but it looks like this is going to have its own dedicated setup now. And there's also partial copy, which again we'll come back to later, but we actually see 100% what that does. The engineer then deletes a whole plane of blocks. Previously plane placing and deleting was an option in the settings that you would have to change, and it looks like this might be turned on by default, which is very useful because I don't know why you'd want it off. And they use this plane deleting to delete a hole in the wall. And then they place down this door, and then using the 25 centimeter blocks, they then place blocks around this door. We then come to the next new feature of this game, a feature we didn't know was coming until now, undo and redo. You can see that they've placed all these blocks and then they undo them all, until the door disappears and the wall comes back. And then, afterwards, they then redo all their changes, bringing back the hole in the wall and the door. So previously there was a mod that did this, and every time I would do a top mods video, I'd be like, right, I need to include the undo mod, because that's going to be amazingly useful. And then every time I used it, it was horrendously buggy. I would have an issue immediately as soon as I started using it. The fact this is going to be a base game feature is absolutely amazing. It's going to be so useful. I should mention this is probably a creative mode only tool, as it was confirmed by the developers that this is all happening in creative, not survival. So maybe undo and redo will be creative only. We'll have to wait and see. The next shot in this teaser appears to show us the partial copy feature. The engineer looks at this girder that they've created out of small blocks, and then proceeds to select it, and then copy it, and then place it down. Something obviously not possible in the current game. It's also worth mentioning that you can also save the copies that you've done and turn them into blueprints, presumably with the option to create blueprints back here. And whilst we don't see it here, those blueprints can apparently be placed on your hotbars like you can a block, and then you can just keep placing that down over and over. So partial copy, I would assume, is like a temporary copy, and then creating a blueprint is a permanent copy of that, which is going to make building things incredibly easy. It's also worth mentioning, in the bottom left of this shot, the speed limit has changed from meters per second to kilometers an hour. Now, there were people in my Discord who were very excited about the fact that this says 1,116 kilometers an hour. And sorry to burst those people's bubble, but 1,116 kilometers an hour is still 310 meters per second. So, sorry? It's interesting that it has changed. The only thing that has really changed is that we're now flying around with our jetpack. But later in the teaser, we see the UI on and flying around in the jetpack, and it's not in kilometers an hour. So it'd be interesting to see why this has changed. Maybe it's a setting in the options. I'm sure we'll find out very soon. In the next shot, Cable. The next shot shows the engineer painting letters on the side of the ship. And as you can see, they're using a paint gun. Now, I'm sure you're all aware that the way you paint in Space Engineers currently is you get a block, you choose a colour from the menu, and then you just middle mouse or whatever it is on console, and that paints the block for you. But it was kind of a bit fiddly to paint with. Sometimes you'd get gaps that you need to paint through, and you'd have to like mash your head into the gap to actually paint it. One way to get around that was the paint gun mod. I was never personally too keen on it. I didn't mind too much mashing my head into gaps. That sounded weirder than I meant it to. But I can see why they've done this. It makes more sense for it to be a tool. And it's also the first tool we've seen in this new engine. We haven't seen a welder, we haven't seen a grinder, but we have seen a paint gun, which is very odd. I also want to mention that again, the controls for this paint gun are shown very clearly at the bottom. And I have such high hope for this. My number one criticism with Space Engineers is that the game was awful at explaining how to do things. And again, this is so much better than anything we currently have in Space Engineers through tutorial. So I'm really hoping that this game is massively more accessible than its predecessor. The next few shots show off the new fracturing system. So you can see that when these blocks are broken apart, rather than just exploding like they do in the current game, they instead fall to pieces when they're damaged. The best example is the solar panel here. You can see as it's damaged, bits of it start to fly off. But also there's landing gears here, you can see that chunks of them start to come off when they're damaged. I have to say immediately this looks 10 times better than Destruction in Space Engineers, and it's a well documented fact that Destruction is my favourite part of the game, so I am so excited for this. As soon as I get my hands on this, I'm going to crash so many ships into each other, you don't understand. It is just going to be a 10-hour montage of me crashing things into each other to see the beautiful destruction in this new game. There's two other things to go along with this. In the top right, you can see this notification is updating when a block is destroyed, and it's telling you how much PCU has been returned to your pool as they are. There's not really a notification feed like this in the game at the moment. The chat is kind of similar, but not really. So I'm curious if this will be used for other things as well. And also, I'm sure a million people have already written in the comments, is that a laser? Are they using a laser? No, it's called Debug Tool Gun. It's a tool they're using to test the game. We've seen this in previous teasers for Space Engineers 2. This is just a tool for them to visualize where the damage is going. So it points out a little laser where they want the damage, and then it damages that area. If anything, these look like really stretched out bullets rather than lasers. I've spent a lot of time in Space Engineers photoshopping out bullets for thumbnails, so I'm pretty confident these are supposed to be bullets rather than lasers anyway. In this final shot here, Cable, it slowly zooms in and the music swells up, and then the word Space Engineers appear, and then the logo appears, and then woo, yeah, baby! Oh, it's too late. I did not have the energy for that. Space Engineers 2. Look, I know we all assumed it was Space Engineers 2. It was really obvious, but to get written confirmation, oh, yes! I'm so excited. They've been teasing this for at least 3 years, if not longer. Pretty much since I started my YouTube channel. This has been something that has been coming, and every time I've been Space Engineers 2, Space Engineers 2, Space Engineers 2. People have been like, no, not Space Engineers 2. And I've been like, yes, it's coming, and it's here. And finally we have this here. Join the live stream. Space Engineers 2 reveal. Thursday, December the 19th at 6 PM UTC. I will be there, and you should be too. Because what we've seen is just a fraction of the things they've been teasing for this new game. Like I said at the beginning, water, modding tools, orbiting planets was something that was discussed, and so much more. And, most importantly, this isn't on this video anywhere, but lots of different sites have been reporting about it. They're going to announce when early access for this new game is coming out. And like I said, I did not expect this, but oh my god, I am hyped. I cannot wait. What a Christmas gift, Keen. What a Christmas gift. Zero when the cable is just cosmetic. Zero's face when someone tells him it's an update and not Space Engineers 2. If you don't have time to watch the live stream, or if you just want everything in it compressed to one digestible chunk, I will be making a video on everything that is shown. And additionally, whenever any information is released about Space Engineers 2, this will be the place to come to see it. So don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel to keep up to date with absolutely everything to do with Space Engineers 2. And whatever this goddamn cable is, please Keen, please tell. A special thanks to Clone, Briarrose, Tarantula Fudge, Summit, The Wildcat, The Whiskman, Splurgeburger, Penguin, Taurus 1834, and Banu. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button.